Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be presupposing that failure is inevitable. I got 4 emails I'm going to go through with you today. But before we get into it, I got a quote that I wrote on this topic. It's on the topic of fear and why you should not be focusing on what you fear or what you're trying to avoid in life and how it clouds your judgments and your actions. And you're going to see that as I go through these guys' email, like their thought process and what they're thinking and how what they're thinking and focusing on is impacting their emotions and inhibiting their ability to be successful with women that they are involved with. And not only is this going to affect them in their personal lives, but every other area of their life where they want to achieve success or they want to succeed more than they're doing now. This is what's indicative of the things that I'm going to point out here is just how this person's normal self-talk is and how it really impacts their ability to be successful. And the quote says, "Fear of failure and fear of undesirable consequences is the wrong thing to be mentally focusing on in life if you want to be successful. Being in a fearful state and taking actions while in a fearful state tend to bring about circumstances in your life that you are trying to avoid, not ones that you want. You must focus on and presuppose that you will be successful in life. Ask yourself, what if things were going to work out for me? How would I think or do things differently? Your focus, efforts, and actions must be aligned with positive expectations, thoughts, and beliefs that you will be successful. In Race Car School, they teach you to look where you want to go. That way, you'll steer the car in the desired direction. Drivers who crash into the wall do so because that is where they look. They literally steer right into the wall because their fear has them focused on what they want to avoid." That's something to think about. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first email. He says, "Hey Coach, thanks to your book and videos, I now have a much clearer insight in dating and relationships. Unfortunately, I found it too late. I met a great girl online. After 3 weeks of messaging, we met up for lunch. The date went great, and I did get the check at the end. Our second date, we went to see her horse." It looks like he's saying instead of, I did get the cheek at the end. Okay, so he went for the kiss and got the cheek. Definitely not a good sign. Our second date, we went to see her horse and she really enjoyed it. Afterwards, we drove for a while and we talked. At the end of the night, she kissed me. Okay, so you did a little bit better. He says, "After this, I lost it. The next days, I blew up her phone with calls and texts." So you got to understand, it's like when women start dating a guy, especially if they get a hint that he's a little desperate, a little bit needy, they're going to back off and wait to call him back just to see what he's going to do. And when you start blowing her phone up, that's it. You're fucking out. He says, 3 days later, I asked her out to dinner and she replied, it would be fun, but her feelings didn't go any further than that. He says, I was devastated and replied that it was okay and I'd still like to go out. In other words, yes, Your Highness, I know you want to stick me in the friend zone, but I'm hoping that by hanging out with you, I can get you to change your mind. So when a woman says that, if she said her feelings don't go any further than that, in other words, she's saying, well, I don't really have any interest romantically, and then say, you know what, you're a great girl and I really enjoyed spending time with you, but my interest is not platonic, it's romantic. So if you change your mind, give me a call, you know how to get in touch with me. And then you walk and you never look back. That means you never call, you never text, you never send her a birthday present, you don't send her flowers for Valentine's Day, you don't do nothing. Walking and never looking back means exactly that. And if she ever contacts you for any reason, remember, women aren't going to bring up a date or going out on a date. They want the man to be direct and decisive. But they might call you, and if they ever do, you got to assume and presuppose she wants to see you and then make a date. So if you tell her that, I'm not interested in anything platonic, but give me a call if you change your mind. If she reaches out, you should assume it's because she changed her mind, and then you make a date. But when you do what you just did, which is, oh, that's okay, yeah, I'd still like to go out, that's not what you really want. Now you're engaging in a fraudulent friendship. You're not really interested in friendship. You have romantic interest in this girl, but you're thinking, hey, I'll be different. I'll get her to change her mind. But when you do that, you're basically not standing up for yourself. You were telling her that you're acquiescing to her terms of friendship. In other words, you're submitting to her will. That's not masculine. That's feminine. He says, 2 weeks later, we went out to dinner, had a great time. We talked, laughed, and ended with a drink. She kissed me goodbye on the cheek. Oh, how nice. You got a kiss in the cheek. That's so nice. He says, a week later, she contacted me again. We sent a couple of joking emails back and forth. I set up a date. And next day, we were at her parents' house playing a card game. Hey, Mom and Dad, this is my new gay male girlfriend. She was totally into me. I left kissing her on the cheek. Ooh. Walked to my car, turned around, grabbed her, and we made out. Well, at least you were masculine there. I felt amazing and thought I was back in the game. 4 days later, because what I would have done, I would have just left and said, hey, call me later, and waited to hear from her. That is so powerful when you do that. 4 days later was the Christmas equivalent here. I sent her a surprise gift with a book of her favorite author and chocolate. I knew you worked, but I just enjoyed buying her something. In other words, hey, Corey, I know this is not what you teach, but I'm going to keep doing what I think is going to work anyways. Even though it's never worked out for me in the past, it's your life, bro. All I can do is lead. I can give you the info, and if you don't want to follow it, well, you get to experience PAIN, pain. We had agreed to meet the day after, and she wanted to borrow some tools. She was slightly colder this time, and we still had a good time. Because you're not getting the message. You're not getting the message that she's only interested in something platonic. She complimented me on remembering the author. Later that evening, when we left, I went for the kiss again, but she backed away. And she says, because she's putting her foot down, and she's stating her purpose, which is, hey, this is strictly platonic. And you probably just went, okay, all right, and went along with it. And she says, I really like you, but I don't want to give you the wrong impression because we do have a great connection. I was totally lost again. It's not a surprise to me. See, the thing is you're ignoring what she's telling you and thinking, hey, I'm going to change your mind. But a man who has confidence and who loves himself is never going to agree to hang out with a woman under any circumstances that have to do with something platonic. He's like, that doesn't work for me. He says, I didn't see her for a while, and just before Christmas, she contacted me to return the tools and invited me over to her place for dinner. We did this around the 4th of January. I was not at ease that night, but we did have a reasonably good time. At the end of the evening, I told her that a platonic friendship didn't work for me, and it called me when she changed her mind. I have not contacted her since. I regret cutting off communication. Why? Would you have rather spent the last month hanging out with a woman and getting pecks in the cheek as your blue balls get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where you can't fucking walk? I think not. It bothers me that I screwed up. It's been a month since our dinner, and I believe I came across as needy and insecure and focused too much on making her my girlfriend instead of just having fun together. It's a fair assessment. I know what you say about walking away, but I want to start having fun again with her. You're not interested in friendship, dude, and what did you tell her? Hey, give me a call if you change your mind. I'm not interested in something platonic. You put the ball in her court, so why would you contact her? The only reason you're going to contact her is if you agree to hang out with her as the gay male girlfriend and you're submitting to that will. That's not masculine, that's feminine. So if you want to be her little bitch, then by all means, pick up the phone and call her and hang out. But keep in mind, if you take that approach, you're not going to get anywhere. He says, I was planning on asking her out again in some weeks. Please advise. You're not congruent with your words. This is exactly why she stuck you in friend zone, because you're not acting like a fucking man. A month ago, you said, hey, I'm not interested in this, and so a month later you're going to call and invite her out? Think about it, dude. You're acting like a fucking woman. That's why you didn't get anywhere. That's why you get the pecks in the cheek. James Bond ain't going to be calling after some girl like this. He's like, think not. I'm out of here. I would do nothing. If she ever reaches out to you, then maybe, possibly, she wants something romantic. And in that particular case, since you've hung out with her friends and family and all that bullshit, Just say, hey, I'd love to see you. When are you free to get together? Thursday? Great. How about 7 o'clock, my place, bring a bottle of wine over and we'll make dinner together. And if she won't do that, if she wants to meet out, just say, hey, it's been a long week. I'm just in the mood to hang. So if you're not down for that, then give me a call in 2 to 3 weeks. And once things settle down, maybe I'll be more up for going out and doing something a little more formal. In other words, she blew you off. She stuck you in friend zone. She was the one that was talking about friends, platonic, 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 and not romantic. And your attitude should be, hey, I'm a fucking catch. Why want to waste my time with a girl who only wants something platonic when I can be rocking out with my fucking cock out with a girl that really wants to see me naked? I mean, think about it. Not that you're going to say that stuff to her, but that's the perspective you need to come from. You deserve to have a woman who adores you. But when you interact with women like in this way, where you've already blown it, you demean yourself. It's like, come on, man, grow a set of balls and stand up for yourself. Just be proud of the fact that you walked away for at least a whole month and that you're going to keep walking back. In other words, she's going to realize if she doesn't reach out to you, at least she'll respect you because you had the balls to walk away. So let's move on to the next email. And this particular guy, I've been coaching him for, I guess, a little over a year now. And he's got this girl who is like, she's like fucking kryptonite to him. He walked away and she was dating another guy. And now apparently she's not with this other guy. She lives in another country. She used to live in his country. And so he might go a month or two without hearing from her. And then she reaches out. But it's so hard for him to do the right thing, to set dates for her to come over. And one of the things that she continues to do is always conveniently get in touch with him when she's going to be on her period or she's coming to visit. It always seems like every single time, without exception, when she's available to get together, she's always on her period, and therefore they never go all the way. He dated her for a while. She was his girlfriend for a bit, and then she put him in friend zone. But it's amazing when I talk to this guy. He knows exactly what to do. And with all the other women he's dating and hooking up with, he's fucking textbook. He's the man. But when it comes to this girl, most of the time, he folds like a fucking house of cards. He's a really cool guy, and I enjoy coaching him. So he says, hey, Corey, how you doing? He says, happy birthday, by the way. I just arrived in Europe after a week in Florida having a good time. It was a good conference, but the weather sucked. He says, I need your advice going forward with this girl over in Europe. He says, I haven't seen her in 7 weeks while she was visiting me last. We last Skyped on Sunday following her initiated contact, and I have not been doing any initiating. Exactly. When a woman friend zones you or says, I don't want anything romantic, you walk and you never look back. You never call her. You never initiate contact in any way, shape, or form. Ever, never, ever, ever again. Period. Why? Think about it. She stuck you in friend zone. She offered you something platonic when you want something romantic. And as a man, the strongest negotiating position, not just for men, but anything in general. If you're negotiating for a new car, you got to be willing to walk away and never look back. That's the strongest position. And so when someone offers you a relationship that is not what you want, you got to say thanks, but no thanks. Give me a call if you change your mind. And if that person ever reaches out to you, you assume they've changed their mind. He says the plan tonight was to go out for drinks followed by a music gig. When we hugged and when she withdrew, I kissed her. She didn't hold back. We then sat and had a drink for about an hour, and she was doing almost all of the talking, about 90% of it. She was definitely opening up, laughing at my crap jokes, and we would make out every 10 to 15 minutes or so when the signs were there from her. This was out in her hometown, somewhere she had never been openly comfortable doing that with me. Well, that's a good sign. We then went to the gig, and again, during the music, when she touched me, I would take that as a sign to touch her, and she would pull me in. We would hold each other, stroke each other, and make out from time to time. That's what's so important, to a concept to understand when it comes to touching and kissing and seducing women. Sometimes you're going to kiss, you're going to make out, she's going to be all over you, and then you're going to back off. And chill out and wait for her to start touching you. And I devoted a whole chapter on this about the women are like cats chapter. I discussed this at length. When a woman pulls away, you wait for her to come back. When she comes back, then you start touching her again. And you continually escalate it. That way, when she's coming back, it's like each time, it's like she winds herself up. through sexual anticipation. This is how it works. It's like kind of like the salsa dance, a little back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like each time she pulls away, the man just sits there like the king on his throne, the king of his kingdom. And when she sees that the king is not going to come running after her, I mean, think about it. How ridiculous does it look to see a king with his cape on and his crown running through the village chasing after a fair maiden? It looks pretty fucking weak. So that's why you sit there and you wait for her to come back, because each time she comes back, she becomes more and more open to receive your strength until eventually she's turned on to the point where she won't resist you at all and she just lets you have your way with her. At the end of the gig, I invited her back to my place for a drink of wine. She said she had work to do, so I walked her back to her place. We made out for a few minutes outside, and then I let her go. She didn't invite me in, and I didn't invite myself up. Yeah, if she would have wanted you to come in, she would have invited you up. He's like, we'll be staying in a hotel until Wednesday, when I'm going to be moving across to stay at her place until Sunday. She wasn't on her period today, but I'm pretty sure she will be in the middle of the week, and definitely Thursday through Sunday. We haven't had sex in about a year, since just after she moved away, and I don't know what more I can do. I want her, but I can only set the scene and let her come to me. What do you think I am doing wrong, if anything? Well, keep in mind, you're going to be staying with her for 4 or 5 days. And that's part of the anticipation, because you've done so much fucking up with this girl, and it's taken you a long time to really back off 100% to the point where you let her do 100% of the contact. Because one of the things that this guy has done over the past year is a way to wait, and he'll think that she sent him a text or an email, or that something that was posted on her Facebook was for him, and then he initiates contact. It's small, it's subtle, but at the end of the day, he's the one reaching out to her instead of letting her come back to him. He says, I followed your advice and trusted it. I am frustrated and tired. I was ready to walk away if she held back this evening, which she didn't seem to do up to a point. Should I have actually explicitly told her I wanted to be with her that night? Well, from what you shared, she didn't invite you up to her place. If a woman wants something, she wants to get a freak on, she's going to invite you up. But you got to keep in mind, you're going to be staying there for the next few days. And so that in of itself can build the sexual anticipation as she thinks about you staying in her place, because you were willing to leave. He says, that doesn't seem to be in line with your suggestions and might be pursuing behavior. Yeah, that would have been pursuing, and she didn't invite you in, dude. If it's at your place, it's a different story, but you're there at her place, and so it obviously didn't seem to bother her that you were leaving. You got to read the signs. You got to read her body language, and you got to read the action. He says, I will suggest Red Wings in the manner that you said, but it looks like this week is going to be a fail for rekindling things fully. And that's another thing that I had mentioned to this particular guy. It's like he always seems to be making plans around the time that she's on her period. And she always seems to contact him or tell him when she's going to be in his area when she's on her period. And I'm sure, to a degree, she's doing that shit on purpose. And so what we talked about is because in the past, he hasn't been willing to embrace, oh, if she's on her period, okay. And then he just doesn't try at all. But if she says, hey, I'm on my period, obviously there's a couple of days when a woman's on her period where it's painful for her to have sex because of cramping that she's having. But a lot of women will have sex on their period if they know it doesn't bother the guy, but it's kind of icky for them, it's embarrassing for them. So the proper way to handle it is like, baby, I don't care, it doesn't bother me. I got my Red Wings a long time ago. I think you're beautiful and sexy. If it's coming out of you, it's part of you. And I adore all of you. I love all of you. I cherish all of you. It doesn't bother me one bit. So bring your gorgeous lips over here and kiss me, and let's make love. And if you say it in a sweet, charming way that communicates you're special, you're beautiful, I think you're amazing, then she'll feel comfortable. And it's like, well, we can just put a towel down. That's all I've ever done, and it's always worked for me. With the exception of when, I'm having really bad cramps right now. It's like, okay, baby, maybe in a few days. Let me know when your cramping goes away. And then we'll make love. You just say it like that. And then the next day or day after that, when things are getting all hot and heavy, same thing. You just have to play it by ear. It's a process. But the biggest part where this guy has screwed up is his impatience and his fear that it's not going to work out. Because his fear that it's not going to work out, it's just like the analogy in race car school. They literally will take your head and move it Like if you're in a spin, they'll literally take your head and move it to where they want you to steer. Because it teaches you that when people get into a car wreck, what happens is they get, oh, I want to avoid the wall, or I don't want to hit that guy. And they literally, as they're spinning around, they're looking right at what they're trying to avoid. And what they don't realize is it literally causes them to steer right into what they're trying to avoid. So it's very important to think about from a perspective of, hey, what if all women wanted me? What if I could have everything in my life that I want? What if this date that I'm going on tomorrow night is going to lead to a great romantic sexual encounter? What if this girl's going to kiss me? What if this girl is going to fall head over heels in love with me and beg me to be her boyfriend within 2 months from today? Now, if you thought that way, what would you do differently? How would you think differently? That's something to think about. He says, when I stay with her on Wednesday, if it doesn't go all the way, or if she won't sleep with me on her period, should I bring up the issue? Does it not look like I'm focusing on sex? If so, how should I go about it? Well, I've just gone through what I would say and how I would handle it. But at the end of the day, you're the one that put yourself in a situation where you're staying with her exactly when she's on her period. And in the past, she's used that as a stumbling block to having sex with you. But if you discuss how to get past the Red Wings things, like I mentioned in our last phone session, obviously like I've partially reiterated here again today, that's going to give you the best possible chance for success. But at the end of the day, when you go back, make a note on the calendar when her period is, and if she brings up coming to visit you and it happens to be on her period again, tell her that you're fucking busy that week. And say, that week doesn't work for me, why not a different week? How about this week, or how about that week? And let her come to see you when you know she's not on her period. So let's get into the third email. This guy says, hey Corey. He says, I asked a woman out at her workplace for a first date, and I said, let's meet up for drinks sometime. She said, sure, sounds like fun. And then I asked her when she was free. Now here's the deal. Women, when they like you, they make it easy for you to go out on a date. And when they don't like you, they give you excuses, they stall, they delay, they make you jump through a bunch of hoops. Now let's go through the response that this woman gives. She laughed and said, yeah, when I'm not busy. But she had told me earlier, about 5 to 10 minutes prior, that she was swamped with her kids and stuff. The bottom line, what does she say? Sure, sounds like fun. And then you go, hey, when are you free? And she goes, yeah, when am I not busy? One statement makes it sound like, yeah, she'd really love to go out with you. But what's she trying to do? She's trying to let you down without hurting your feelings. In other words, she just ain't interested, bro. That's what I would take this as. So I asked, seriously, how's next week sometime? She said, next week wasn't good. See all the obstacles she's throwing up in your way? Then I said, let me know when you have time, whenever. He says, bad mood, I know I was being wishy-washy. I didn't want to keep saying, well then when I say in that particular thing, it's like, well, just take my number and give me a call when your schedule frees up and we'll plan something in. She'll go, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And you go, and you notice that she doesn't pull out her phone. You go, all right, well, I'll see you later. Have a great day. If she doesn't stop, you go, oh, let me get you your number. Think about it. That's how you handle that particular situation. But this girl ain't interested, dude. But it's awesome. Pat yourself in the back that you had the balls to approach this woman. That is fucking great. That's what you need to do. It's a numbers game. He says she wasn't making it easy, though. Well, the reason she wasn't making it easy is because she doesn't like you. Even though she said, oh, that sounds like fun, that was a bullshit statement. She doesn't like you. She's not attracted to you, and that's why she wouldn't give you she wouldn't make plans with you. He says, but I know I should have said, well, once you know your schedule, let me know and call me later. He says, we also didn't exchange numbers. Bad move. But I had pulled out a phone and then away when we didn't set a date. Bottom line is, it's okay. She didn't want to go out with you anyways. So you did the best you could. The only thing was your exit wasn't as grateful, and I already shared with what you should have said differently. But that's okay. It's how you learn. He says, I'm just worried I've been too weak and holding back too much for her to lose interest. Dude, she didn't have interest. But I don't want to over-pursue, appear desperate. I need the perfect balance. But then 5 to 10 minutes later, she said, I don't live around here. You should have left after that. You shouldn't have kept talking. And she told me she lived in the city, and I'm not sure what that meant. she's just giving you excuses, trying to let you down, trying to deflect, trying to get you to basically forget about asking her out. She lives 2 hours away, I believe, round trip, so I'm confused. It seemed like a possible excuse, or is she just telling me that it would be hard to meet up indirectly as we don't live close to each other? She was trying to reject you without saying, I'm not attracted to you, bro. You know, sorry, if you were the last man on earth, I wouldn't fuck you. Women aren't going to come out and say that shit. But this is what happens. I want everybody watching this, I want you to understand that this is what a woman does when she's not interested. Look at all the excuses she gives. Look at all the deflections. The bottom line is she's not making it easy for you and her to get together. Women who like you, make it easy. Women who don't, this is what happens. Meaning, should I ask to get together and pick her up instead? He says, after her statement, didn't ask or pursue anymore, and I dropped it as it seemed like an excuse. This was all under time restraint, though. Next time I see her, should I even ask what she meant by that before asking again for a first date? Or, no, I wouldn't ask her again or bring it up. She's not interested. You're wasting your time. I plan on saying next time, hey, I'd love to get together with you still sometime. I know we have the distance thing going on, but I'm always heading... See, it's like you're ignoring the fact that she's not interested in you. And this is what guys do. This is why guys get hung up on women they don't have a chance with. 6 months, a year, 2 years go by, and they're still trying to get that first date. But the reality of the situation is, you've already lost, and yet you go on and on and on about this girl, and bottom line, she ain't interested, bro. So it's like he goes on here like 2 or 3 paragraphs. It's just not necessary. This is one woman. There are 6.5 billion people on this planet. At least 3 billion plus of them are women. This is one, and this one ain't interested. So there's really no reason to go through the rest of his email, because it's all this minutia that he gets himself wrapped up in, and all these excuses and these what ifs and these scenarios. But it just doesn't matter, dude. She's not into you. Move on to the next one. Pat yourself in the back because you asked her out. That's all you got to do. You miss 100% of the pitches that you don't swing at. At least in this case, you swung at the pitch. But the bottom line is you struck out with her. You don't stand there in the mound waiting for her to continue throwing pitches at you, because the bottom line is you already struck out. You're out. Move on to the next one. So let's get into the fourth and final email. This guy says, hey, Coach, I just found your book and material. I wish I would have found it years ago. I wish I had $1 for every time somebody said, I wish I would have found your work sooner. I'm writing you for your expertise in how to handle a recent situation. I'm 36 and I've been seeing this girl who's 35 and 8 months removed from a 4-year relationship. He says, I met her at a local club while catching a concert, and I was introduced by a mutual friend. I later approached her and had her put her number in my phone. Oh, that's good. We met up later the following week, and the first date went great. Things progressed pretty rapidly over the following weeks. She would stay over, and we always had great sex. We spent New Year's together, and it was amazing. She was posting our pics on Facebook and always texting me at least once a day. I admittedly made myself too available. She would ask me to stop by after I got done at the gym because she missed me. I never actually went in her apartment because she said it was messy because she was always busy and she didn't want me to see it like that. Either that or maybe she had pictures of other dudes in there. Who knows? But the bottom line is she didn't invite you in. I started doing family things with her 5-year-old and 17-year-old sons. Well, bottom line is these are things that happen after 2 months of dating and when she's totally head over heels in love with you and has asked you to be exclusive. But that obviously hasn't happened yet. So you're getting too involved in her life and you're making her feel like it's a relationship after only a few weeks. Now you're hanging out with her kids and you're doing that on purpose to involve yourself in her kids' lives. The older one and I started working out together. And I admit I started talking about the future plans and expressing my attraction level. I am insanely attracted to this woman. Hence your downfall, because you completely are not looking at the situation for what it is. You're seeing the situation and assuming that she feels the same way, and you're forcing yourself upon her. And the only reason a guy forces himself upon a woman and forces himself into her life is because deep down he's fearful if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't take some kind of action or overaction, what I like to call the illusion of action, he feels like he's going to lose her. And since you're in a fearful place, you're only hanging out for a couple of weeks. Now you're making this woman feel like she's in a relationship with you. And what that does is it causes her to feel like she's going to lose her freedom, and that's when a woman will back up and start blowing you off. He says, so last weekend we went to get some tattoo work done, and I got mine and she got one in remembrance of her dad. The next day we were supposed to go to church together. She didn't show. She stood you up? She didn't come over to your place? Or were you just supposed to meet at church together? She said she was sick and not feeling well. 2 days later, on the 1-year anniversary of her dad's death, I texted her in the morning and I told her I was giving her a hug and I'd be there for her because I knew it to be a tough day. She replied, thank you, baby, with a little smiley face. Later that day, I checked Facebook and see that she posted about her dad, but I also noticed she deleted every post with us together in it. See what happens when you come on too strong? It's starting to feel like a relationship, and probably all of our friends and family going, hey, what's going on with this guy, Bob? What about Bob? There was actually a movie about that a long time ago. He says, the only thing she left was a post with the roses that I bought her. Our photos were still in her album, but the posts were gone. I asked her if there was something I needed to know. Come on, man. What does that question presuppose? It presupposes that there's a problem. He says, and she denied deleting the posts. Now you're creating unnecessary drama. She said she was having a terrible day and didn't know what I was talking about, and her feelings hadn't changed, but she didn't like the fact that I was implying she was hiding something. Basically, you're telling her she's lying. That's not a good way to go. It's like when you see these things, you just keep them to yourself. You think you're like Sherlock Holmes. You're like a detective. You're trying to see where she's really at and what she really feels towards you. I told her I knew she had a lot on her mind and I was giving her some space, and when she was ready to talk, let me know. Again, more presupposing that there's a problem. You're creating drama instead of hanging out and having fun and hooking up. And this is all out of your own insecurity that you perceive there's a problem. And you perceive that you presuppose you're going to lose her. In other words, you presuppose that you're going to fail. And so you can see how this is causing you to doubt everything she's saying and doing. And now you're creating problems where there really weren't any problems. He says, she texted me good morning the following day and good night, calling me baby and both, and I replied back the same. Why didn't you make the next date? I texted her good morning on Thursday and she replied, good morning, hon. The last text I got from her was asking about my son, and I replied, he's doing great. And she said, that's fantastic news. Again, why didn't you set a date? Just like I talk about my book and all my videos, when a woman reaches out to you where she initiates a contact, what does that mean? It means she's thinking about you and you presuppose that she wants to see you. But since you're in a fearful state and you presuppose that you're going to fail, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. Oh, she doesn't want me. Oh, she texted me. Oh, she doesn't want me, even though she texted you. And so you just go around in circles and you get nowhere. You're holding back now, and you're not taking the proper action that you should be taking. He says, so I hear nothing for the next 48 hours from her, so I texted her to reply to something I seen on her Facebook, and she posted about someone saying she's a horrible mom. I said, don't believe any of that crap. I know you got a lot on your mind. When you want to go have fun again, I got you covered. How would you say something like that? No response. I instant messaged her son and told him not sure what was going on with his mom, and that I care for his mom and you boys very much. You're making drama, and now you're involving your kid in your drama. Your fear of losing her is now causing you to do and say things to her kids. It's going, now he's going to go back to his mom. Hey, Mom, what about Bob? Is there a problem? Because Bob sure seems to think there's a problem with you and him, and she's probably going, oh, God. You had several opportunities to make dates, and then you're just like a dog chasing his tail. It's your job as a man to be direct and decisive and make dates, and you're not doing that. You're fucking up. He says, I just want her to be happy. This is all the shit he's telling her son. I just want her to be happy. And I told him, even if I wasn't seeing his mom, now you're already talking about a breakup. You presupposing that you've already failed and lost. And I think he's an awesome kid, and if he wanted to work on drills or footwork the next football season, I'd be willing to do anything to help him. I also said that maybe his mom will open up to being us being together in the future. He replied back, thank you. Mom is going through a lot right now. She will be okay, and she will probably be open to see you in the future. And based on posts I've seen over the weekend, she is doing fine. I just started watching your videos and reading your book, and I now know I made some huge blunders. Can this relationship recover from these mistakes? What is the best way to handle this situation? Do I ever contact her first again? Well, she ignored you the last time. He says, she hasn't blocked me or unfriended me on Facebook, and I am so attracted to her physically. She's exactly what I want looks-wise. What do I do? Just wait to hear from her. You're acting needy and desperate. He says, I will add that the most recent ex texts her a lot, and she still has stuff stored at his house. Well, maybe she's fucking him again. And the father of her 5-year-old seen me in some pictures with his son and wanted to meet me. And she has a ton of guy friends, and whenever she posts a pic on Facebook, she gets all these guys saying how hot she is. I still haven't got any explanation for why she turned cold and no contact all of a sudden. Because you're acting like a woman, and you're all focused on the relationship and locking her down to a commitment, instead of just being this guy who she was hanging out, having fun, and hooking up with, and forgetting about the fact that her father died a year ago and all that stuff. You're just stirring the pot of drama. It's like you're pouring salt and lemon juice in her open wound and making her feel worse. And now that's what she's associating with you. Plus, you're basically telling your son, hey, I know your mom's pretty much rejected me and doesn't want anything to do with me anymore because I'm such a loser and such not a catch. But I just want you to know, I think you're a great kid. It's not helping your case. So what I would do in this case is nothing. When you hear from her, just act as if nothing had happened. Just act as if she's been busy and you've been busy. And just say, hey, babe, great to hear from you. I would love to see you when you're free to get together. And then make a date. Maybe make a date at your place where she can bring a bottle of wine and come on over and hang out and have fun and hook up. Just like you were doing in the beginning where you made it all complicated and started fucking things up. That's what I would do if I were you. And if you don't hear from her again, then you know you pretty much screwed the pooch on it and chased her right out of your life. But the good news is you're reading my book and you're watching my videos. So you're learning the fundamentals. And that's the best thing that you can do for yourself in order to be successful. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.